You're watching New Car Spin. I'm Brian, your host, and this is the Volvo S60 T8 Polestar. And it's not the Polestar version, it is the Polestar tuned T8. And you can tell it's a T8 because you see this little port right here. That's where you charge it. That's a J1772 level 2 charger. And I just picked it up from getting a window tint. It's got Spectraphoto Sync 30 on there. Looking pretty good. And let's see, you'll see right here, T8 R Design twin engine all-wheel drive Polestar. So what that means, twin engine, is that it's got an electric motor for the rear wheels, and then it has a gas engine for the front wheels. It's the same gas engine, supercharged, turbocharged, that you'll find in the T6, but the T8s have electrification. So this is a plug-in hybrid, and I'll explain all about it. Let me show you the back seat real quick. You can tell it's got different seats here than the T5, similar to the T6 that I drove, because that was an R design. And I've got the tape on there so I don't roll the windows down because it's got a fresh tint. So you'll see the extra bolstering on the seats, and the squab comes in and out. You can control it here. You have lumbar, lots of cool things. Let me just get in and show you more of it. So here we have, by standard, is the Harman Kardon stereo. And in the T6 I drove, it had the optional Bowers & Wilkins stereo. And right now the car is actually on, and the engine's not on because it's battery powered. The battery is actually in this tunnel, and then the motor is in the back in the trunk area. Part of the downside of that is obviously the center storage is very small. It can hold keys and some hand sanitizer. We also have a cup holder here, slightly different design than the T5 that I drove last week. And this slot right here is where you stand your cell phone up, although my cell phone tends to flop out of this in hard cornering. So if I had a grippier or actually a case, it would probably not flop out. Here we have our similar Volvo Sensus, although now we have navigation. So we have standard nav here. And if we go back to the main screen, you'll see we can go to the settings, and we have hold, charge, traction control sport. This one can park itself, park in and park out. And we have heads up display, and then we can do standard cruise control rather than the advanced package, which comes with the T8, which has the radar cruise. And I'll show you all this stuff as we drive along. This basically is a very, very complicated car. It's got two cars in one, and it's got different drive modes that make this thing behave differently than your typical car. So this will be a long video, longer than normal, because there's so much to show you. The T5 video was 1 hour and 2 minutes. This one I think will be longer, even though we're going to go on the same road trip, Austin to Dallas. We do have the same power sunroof that came in the bone stock T5, and basically I'll keep that open so you can see more in here. Let's see. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and reset the trip average here like I did the last time. Oops, let's hold that down. Maybe I'm not resetting the right one. Let's go back and on the display, and there we go. Boom. Okay, now I will hold it down. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll reset it here. We'll go here to driver performance, and I will reset current trip. Alright, and now we'll just see how this goes along. And whoops, I didn't turn it on. Gallons per hour too, we can see our gallons per hour. Let's go ahead and do trip mileage average, and then here in the bottom right corner we'll do trip average. Oh, that's miles. Let's see if we could go to, how do I do this? Average miles per gallon. Okay, so I don't know what I did differently in the T5 versus here to see the miles per gallon in the bottom corner, but we'll try trip average. Will that work? There we go. And if I reset it, That's TM right in there. That's TM, and then that's TA. So I don't know what I'm doing differently. Very, very interesting. Let's try that. TM. Hold down the reset. Ha! There we go. Trip computer reset complete. Okay, so now we've got seatbelts on and a different gear selector in this car, mainly because it's the electronic drivetrain. So we pull back twice. Any more than twice, you're playing with it, and we are in drive. And we have electronic parking brake, we have auto brake hold, just like in the T5. And because this is electric, we also have an electric air conditioning compressor. So when the car is off or on, but the engine's off, you still get great air conditioning, which in Texas is very vital, especially in the summer. I do not like stop-start in the summer in Texas in any car because basically the AC compressor doesn't turn on, or it stops along with the engine. But here, because it's an electric hybrid, we also have air conditioning that runs like normal because it's basically like an air conditioning pump from a refrigerator. It's all electric. This is my personal car. I never thought I'd have a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid or an EV, although this is kind of both. The reason why I bought it was because Volvo has a great looking S60, but then they announced it would have 400 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque, maybe even 495. So I ordered it. I'm the first overseas delivery customer. That trip will be pending, obviously. And I had it also Polestar tuned. So Polestar is the performance division of Volvo now, and they're now doing electric cars, but they have this thing called the Polestar 1, which this is kind of like that. It doesn't have all the carbon fiber or anything else. There is a Polestar version of this car, which has Brembo brakes, costs 10 grand more, has Öhlins dampers that you can adjust manually up front. Instead, what I have is an electronically adjustable damping suspension through the drive modes. Before I drive off, I'll show you those drive modes right now. I press down here in the drive mode. I have constant all-wheel drive, pure hybrid, and Polestar engineered. So we'll go through these modes, and basically, you'll notice it doesn't say eco. There's no eco mode in this car, even though it's an eco car. The reality is this is a performance hybrid with 400 horsepower. You're definitely going to want to enjoy that. So let's go ahead and take off and begin our trip. Silently. You'll see we have the hybrid style, which is the standard version. When you get in the vehicle, the tachometer is replaced by this kind of band, and that band has an oil drop and an electric bolt, and the difference there is as you drive along, it shows you which version you're in, and then as you start slowing down or braking, it recharges the battery, and you can see the recharge section. Also, you could throw this gear selector down one more, and then it goes into B mode, which does regenerative braking, and it immediately slows the vehicle down. It won't take it to a complete stop, but it will act as a brake and slow the vehicle down. Works great in the city. On the highway, it's negligible. So we'll go ahead and put it back on drive. Okay, and the thing I noticed here is that you try to keep it in the EV mode when you're driving along, and that's a big mistake. Just drive it. Don't pay attention to that needle. And what I found is that if I drive it and just let it run its course, it will stay in EV as much as it can until I put my foot down and order up more power. The engine puts out over 330 horsepower with the Polestar tune, and when you do that, it ends up not consuming electricity. It ends up using the gas engine to propel it. So in this mode where we're at now, the standard mode, Comfort, which is hybrid, it moves along just nicely. We're doing 63, there's some traffic here, and if I wanted to, which you can't do in most Toyotas, is you can go to Pure, which Pure is all electric. So now it's rear-wheel drive only, and we're in electric mode at 70 miles an hour. Now it will maintain this, I think, up to 74 miles an hour, and it's great to have as a vehicle that you can drive in a city where you might want to just use EV, right? So here we see We're on full charge for EV, and we have full tank of fuel, and we're averaging 138.1 miles per gallon there so far. Of course, this being EV mode, I want to be able to just put it in hybrid. We'll show you Polestar engineered as we get out of the city. We have lane keeping assist, just like the T5 had, only in this case we have radar cruise, which we'll use when the traffic gets worse. And you can see there, 150 miles per gallon so far, just hitting the freeway. And obviously we're going to use the electricity faster than we would use fuel, but how does this work on a road trip? What does this really mean for us? And that's what this whole trip is about. Yes, in the city you can go somewhere around 22 miles on pure electric, but what about a road trip? Today, towards Dallas, you're going to see how that works in the Volvo T8 hybrid, the S60 version of that. Or maybe it's the T8 version of the S60, however you look at it. But unique to Volvo is that you can get the hybrid in the wagon, and the larger sedan, and the larger wagon, and the larger SUV, and the medium-sized SUV. So Volvo, I think, is the first car company to do all of that, and it's available now. Of course, the caveat here is that the T8 is in high demand, and the battery manufacturers are also in high demand, so getting a T8 is like getting a unicorn, and it is definitely a unicorn. I'll confirm that for you right now. But as we're cruising along, the difference here in the ride quality between the T5 I had and this car is much heavier. I don't have the exact stats on me. I know it's at least 500 pounds heavier than the T6, which is all-wheel drive. But being that this has extra batteries and electric motors, it's going to be heavier. So what that translates to in the weight is this car rides much flatter, and it's got stiffer springs, although this doesn't have the sport suspension, it's just the standard suspension. And it feels much more solid in a straight line. I said that on the T5 with the 18-inch wheels, it somehow had a bit of a different feel on the steering, and it felt much more cushioned than this car. This has 19-inch wheels, they're optional, and obviously lower profile tires, so you feel more of the road in here, but you're still being, what is that? It's still a smoother ride than the Audi A4. And technically you can't get a 400 horsepower Audi A4. You'd have to get the Audi S4, and this costs a little bit more than that. So in reality, I've had several cars. One of them was a Chrysler 300S Hemi, personal car, and that was the 5.7 liter, and it had 363 horsepower. This Volvo has more power than that. Now, price-wise, you're still under $70,000 for 400 horsepower, so the question is, like, why would you do it in a Volvo? And the question is very valid, and I'll show you this as we get out of the city onto some more open roads. We can see the passing power of this, and we can see the fuel economy as we go along. So now if you look down, you'll see the average is like 293.5 miles per gallon, and we're stuck at 150 there. I think that's the max. And now you'll see the tachometer shows we're in the engine oil. The little oil drop means the engine's running. So we are running the engine at this point, and it's seamless. The transition between electric and gas is seamless in this car. You won't even notice when the engine's running or not. It is just a smooth band of power. I don't want to say wave of torque, because this does not feel like that at all. It has an 8-speed ace and automatic, and it only really powers those front wheels. The rear does not have a transmission. It's just pure electric drive in the back. So it's a really weird setup. But the beauty of that is you have different drive characteristics from this car depending on the drive mode. So pure is rear-wheel drive only. Hybrid is your standard. We're going to get to Polestar as we get out of Austin. And then you're going to have pure or constant all-wheel drive, which means it matches or tries to match the power between the front and the rear wheels for things like better traction in inclement weather kind of thing. And I've tried that mode too, and that's fun. Polestar is even better. So let's get along here through our drive. You'll see, let's see, I'll pull the map up here Let's do that. You'll see we have a map here in the center display. That's on the models with navigation. They all have the electronic instrument cluster. You notice that in the T5. And here we have our map here. So this is not a Google map like it was on the T5. This also has the same connectivity and more, actually. So there's a SIM card that goes down there in the footwell. There's a little panel down there somewhere. And that SIM card allows the car to have wireless internet, basically. And with that, you can go use these other apps here. So we have more apps in this car than the T5 had. You'll see we have weather, Google search. We have all these different things that we can use in the car. Glimpse is an interesting one. You can share your car's location or the progress of your trip as you're driving along. And it's just pretty cool overall. Traffic's pretty light today, but let me go ahead and demonstrate this. I'm going to turn on radar cruise, and it sets it to the speed we're at, right? I just press the center button. And this shortens the distance to the car in front, and this increases the distance. Right now we're doing pretty well, and you can see the icon down there showing us we're 2 bars set, and we're doing 67, although my cruise is set to 61. And you'll see there's a heads-up display as well, showing that same information. Now, on the left here, you'll see a little icon with arrows next to it. Those are these arrows here. And if I wanted to, I could go right, and now it'll do pilot assist, which means it's going to follow the car in front, and my hand is completely off the steering wheel. So it's going to straighten out too. Look at that. It will tell me at one point to put my hands back on the wheel. But this is great for being in stop and go traffic, or there we go, see, apply steering. So it's great to have in a way to reduce fatigue, especially as you're going through some cities, if you're doing some good cross-country driving, which I'm predicting a lot of people will be doing this summer, because why fly? Well, anyway, the Volvos that have this system they all have the same system. So it's not just specific to the S60. You can get on the XC60, the S90, the XC90, the V90, the V60 wagons, and it's pretty cool to have. And so as I've just got my hand on the steering wheel here, it is following the car in front, keeping me in the lane, adjusting my speed, keeping me at a certain distance from the car in front, and I could do things like, I don't know, take my eye off the road for a second and then come back, and it'll be just fine. So that's cool. Let it do its thing here. There you go. Now, as people come in, it slows down. You can see that. Now there are cameras and everything up there inside of the rearview mirror housing here, and they all project out. I will tell you, a new windshield on this car costs about $1,600 and change. I found that out the hard way when a rock cracked my windshield last week, so I've had to have a new windshield put on after only owning this thing for 2 months. And my insurance is thankfully taking care of that, less my deductible, but you know, that's just how the way things are. And we have auto-dimming mirrors, just like in the T5. We basically have the T5 version of the S60 with electric power in the rear. I wouldn't say it's like the T6, although it is the engine for the T6. The T5 is only front-wheel drive, which technically the engine here is only powering the front wheels. So it's kind of like that. And the thing is, you can get the R design, so these seats, this interior, with the exception of this center console, you would be able to get this interior in a T5 or a T6 if you got the R design version. And of course there's an inscription version which has vented seats and massage available as well. Not these bolsters, but still upgraded seats, although the seats in the known stock T5 are really good too. So what are we at? Let's go back to my screen here. Boom. Alright. So 138.1 is the average there, and 133.5 there. So as we deplete the electricity, which we're already at half battery, we will discover what the Volvo does to continue the car's momentum. So what I'll do is I'll move over one lane here, let people go by, because it's time to move over. Sometimes I've discovered that if you're on the freeway and you don't switch lanes fast enough when you're in this mode with the pilot assist, is that it wants you to move over lanes faster. So when you're going like 80 miles an hour and passing, you do need to change lanes quicker than you'd probably want to before the system kicks in and tries to tell you, hey, yeah, I gotta move over because you're out of the lane or something like that. So it is hard for me to get used to that because I don't really switch lanes quickly at 80 miles an hour. But here we are at 71. Very light traffic today, which happens to be Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day. You'll see the air conditioning system I can actually control through this. Set temperature to 72 degrees.
Temperature set to 72 degrees.
And there you go. I don't think I can do anything like control the sunshade. Let's see. Close sunshade.
Temperature set to 72 degrees.
It just repeated what I said last time. Anyway, you can still close the sunshade just by pulling down on that. And then it will auto-close. It'll also auto-close. There's a setting to set it to auto-close when you are parked and the temperature gets high. The shade will close on its own. Very similar to what the Jaguar Land Rover stuff does, although when those cars do it, they automatically close the sunshade when you lock the car and then automatically open the sunshades when you turn on the car if you had it open last time. Here in the Volvo, it will stay closed. Loud pipes save lives, bro. So we're at 2 bars, we're doing 71, we're in the middle lane, just cruising. And I gotta say, like, at this point, the beauty here is the stereo. Right now I'm on Chill Tracks, which is something from Intune, which is an app in the car. And it doesn't need, unlike the T5, I don't need my cell phone's hotspot to be active because we're using the SIM card down in there and it's using the data on that SIM card. And you could throw in your T-Mobile chip or your AT&T chip. By default, the new cars come with an AT&T chip, but the trial is only for 3 months or 3 gigs, whichever's first. And let's see, what else? Compared to the T5, we've got glossy buttons on here. We've got a stitch dash. You see the stitching in here. And the T8 has this stitching here in the center console. And our design has fabric here on the bolsters, but leather in the seat center and some piping there. Otherwise, it's the same kind of car, because it is. It's the T6. It's the S60. So the T6 is basically all-wheel drive with a prop shaft down the center, and that would make it sort of like a Haldex system. So I think the power is mainly to the front until it detects slip, and then it sends power to the rear, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I think that's it for now. I'll catch up with you as I get further away from Austin. Right now, it's still bouncing around 197, 195. Pretty good average there. And then here we're stuck at 150. We can see the detail here. It's going to trip. There you go. So we can see our fuel consumption and our electricity consumption. But what you'll notice is as we're getting lower on the battery charge, the car will figure it out. The car figures it out all on its own, which is pretty interesting. So I'm going to resume listening to my music, and I'll catch up with you when I put a couple miles on the car. We're about 10 miles into the last video clip, and you'll see we're running really low on the gauge there for the battery reserve. And you got to remember, like, these electric cars always lie on their battery power levels because they don't actually gauge the actual number and tell you the truth, because they always keep a reserve in there. And if you watch Bjorn Nyland's channel and stuff like that, you'll see that he also sees degradation of batteries over time, which is a whole different discussion. And everyone else has discussed it. I'm not going to discuss it. But you'll see, as we've dropped on our battery capacity, we've also dropped on our fuel economy, and it's reflected on both screens. And they're a little differing because that screen, I think, is instant calculated, and this is basically deferred over every 10 miles. So the average every 10 miles, the calculation is as such 96.6, right? And then if we look here, 97.8. But we're still using cruise control, and as hard as it's going to be in this car with 400 something horsepower, I'm going to have to replicate the trip I did in the T5, which was basically cruise control. Although this time we're using radar cruise, but I'm still setting it to the speed limit, which is 70, as you can see down there, right? It's got the sign recognition and everything. But I do want to show you, while we're there, we can go here, and if we wanted to charge that battery along the way on the trip, like let's just say, oh, we're going to head to Waco, and I want to have electric on for some reason in Waco, you can go charge. And what that'll do is that'll use the engine to charge the battery, and it'll actually charge it faster than you could on a level 2 charger. It wants me to put my hand on the wheel. There we go. And then you have hold. Hold allows you to keep the battery where it's at. So if I wanted to keep the full charge that we had left with, I could have put it on hold, and then it would have done its job to maintain that battery level. So in this case, if we use charge, it will make the fuel economy worse. So for this trip, I'm going to not use charge. We're just going to use the vehicle's calculation the entire time to figure out what it's going to do to maintain that battery level and maintain the performance that we're supposed to get out of this vehicle. I will tell you, it feels a lot faster when there's more electricity available for a longer burst of time. Think of it like a turbo. That electric motor will help you with acceleration, and then it lets go and the engine takes over, right? So for passing power, it's great. And in the city, it's great to be on pure EV. But that's what I'm saying about this car. There's so many different modes and ways to drive it. So we're going to figure out, as we get into more, open territory, we can kick the speed up just to give you a taste of the passing power, and then we'll bring it back down and do some cruise and see if this gets better or worse fuel economy than the T5. Remember, this is heavier than the T5. Even though this is all-wheel drive, without parasitic loss to the rear wheels, we are moving more weight and we have more power. And that combination, we'll see. I mean, I haven't really monitored the fuel economy. I did not buy this car for fuel economy. I bought it for the passing power. And if you're familiar with some of those Volvo Polestar videos out there, of which there are practically none, you'll see what I'm talking about in this video. So if we go back to the main screen, okay, 80.7. So it is dropping, and now it's doing its thing to maintain the drivability, meaning that it's going to keep that battery with enough charge to allow passing power, but it's not going to go completely dead, and it's also not going to charge it up as we drive, because how is it supposed to know where we're going? May is a great time to take a road trip through Texas because it is really beautiful out. You get all the wildflowers, and the weather's spectacularly crazy, and you basically get a great drive, a scenic drive. However, it hasn't really rained much, and you can see, being that this is May 10th, the wildflowers are there on the side of the road, but it's also very dry out. I've never seen it this dry in May, so it's kind of weird. With all those vehicles off the road, we didn't get much rain. It's still kind of nice, but we're getting an omen here, and this omen is this summer is going to be crazy hot. I'm sure of it. Very sure. What's our fuel economy at? 60.2. And over there it says 61.8. And you'll notice the battery is maintaining that level now. And I have a destination set in the navigation, and I think it's going to be calculating the best use of gasoline and charging and electricity consumption as we drive along. Keep in mind, I'm going to be doing the speed limit unless I need to pass here and there. When things open up, I'll be able to do that. For now, just a casual cruise on a regular weekend. And this is the way road trips should be done. You shouldn't be in a hurry on a road trip because you want to get there. It depends on how you want to get there. You can get there in the car, or you can get there in a box, or you can get there in a medical helicopter. You know what I'm saying? I've done a lot of road trip videos on my channel, New Car Spin, and my other channel, Diesel Drives. And most of my trips to El Paso, you'll notice that we're out in the middle of nowhere. And even out in the middle of nowhere, you'll see helicopters. And bad news travels by helicopter. So the last thing you want is to do a bonehead move or have someone around you do something stupid and have to be transported by helicopter somewhere when all you were doing was trying to get to where you were going. Think about that. Here's as good a time as any to show you Polestar. Push it down, Polestar, engine comes on, right? Floor it. Oh, baby. So there you go. Let's go into the right lane here. Alright, so it definitely picks up speed. Let's put it down into B. Now what that's doing is it's using engine braking to slow the vehicle down. As you can tell on the highway, it doesn't really slow it down by much. And we still have our cruise control set to 75. So what will happen is it will resume 75 like that. And we're still in Polestar. So the beauty of Polestar is that it's a tune that you can get from the factory or the dealer, and you have 30 days to try it out. And if you don't like it, the dealer can remove it. If you do like it, you just keep it, and your factory warranty is not void. Because it's Polestar, which is owned by Volvo, you don't have any warranty issues with tuning the car. Now, that performance there was based on a battery that's basically low. If that battery was fully charged, the electric boost would have lasted a little bit longer, in my opinion. You would have felt more of a surge, or I would have felt it, you would have seen it. And that's the beauty of the way this car behaves. You just put your foot down, you're not waiting for the transmission to shift gears. The electric motor is already sending you on your way, and as it's doing that, the transmission's kicking down, and then they just kind of meet up in the middle, and then the engine with 330 horsepower takes over from the 87 horsepower electric motor. So when you do the Polestar tune, it does nothing to the electric motor. The electrics are not changed, it's the engine itself. And in this case, this is the same supercharged, turbocharged engine from the T6, which you can Polestar tune to get the same power output we're getting here. You can also Polestar tune the T5 and get more than the base 250 horsepower, which, by the way, is more power in the base S60 than you can get in the higher trimmed A4 from Audi. That's why I got this car. I used to have a lot of Audis, and this is my first Volvo. I never thought I'd do it. It's also my first hybrid/EV. And we'll talk about the benefits of the EV side that I've discovered, and I've known about, but not really had to use yet. But being that I live in Dallas, it is great to have as an added benefit. We'll talk about that. For now, you'll see we're down to 47.9 on the average fuel economy there. I've added the range there for the fuel tank, and the battery is blank because there's no range on the battery. But it maintains the battery level still. Now we're averaging 47.1 on this one. So it's doing quite well. We're going to head towards Waco now, and I'll give you an update in Waco. I might even grab a bite to eat because it is 3 in the afternoon and I only had brunch today. I made my mom French toast for Mother's Day. Can you believe it? She loved them too. So we're just leaving the outskirts of the city of Temple. We're still on Interstate 35. You can see we have a map here, And then we have all our information displayed there. It's not bad, right? And just outside, you'll see that little beaver thing, that icon. Wait, that sign right there. That is like a huge gas station. And they're all over Texas in certain areas. Well, not all over, but they are in certain areas. I'd say all over because they have hundreds of gas pumps. And there is one such example. It is 2 bays deep. It is insane. That is a lot of gas pumps. Can't see much from down here, but trust me. And they have a huge like shopping store thing of like tchotchke stuff, beaver tchotchke, and then Texas tchotchke. It's worth checking out if you're doing a road trip through Texas. Definitely stop at Buc-ee's. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for some people, and for others, it's like a must-have on a road trip. I gotta stop at Buc-ee's. Me personally, I don't. I have things to do, like shoot this video. But if you're traveling through Texas, stop at Buc-ee's. Worth it. By the way, we're doing the speed limit still, 65. I'm set at 65. We're averaging 43.7 on that trip, which is 10-mile average, and 44.3 as an active average. Still not bad. Not bad at all.
Running from eternity.
Well, we're at 101 miles into the trip. 102, actually. There you go. We're set. Cruise control 75. We're heading towards Waco. And the average is 41.2. And 40.9 over here on the 10-mile average. So, the T5 that I drove, spoiler alert on that one, is 38.1 mpgs. And we're heavier than them, or that one. It was. Well, was or is, however you look at it. This is heavier, and we're still doing better than that. And what's remarkable is that had 250 horsepower, and this has 415 with the Polestar tune. If it didn't have the Polestar tune, it would be 400. So, roundabout. That's amazing that we're doing a little bit better on the fuel efficiency, and we're heavier, and we have more power. Obviously, the power rating is a combined power rating, but even the T6 would probably be similar to this, as well as the T5. So, you either want front-wheel drive, you get a T5. You want all-wheel drive, you get a T6. You want full power, you get the T8. I think that's what it looks like we're going to have these days. And then, of course, you want the fancy, the crazy seats? You get the this R design with these seats. If you want luxury seats with the ventilation or the massage, you get the inscription. If you don't care, then you get the Momentum. And the Momentum obviously is the base version of the T5 or the T6, but you cannot get a T8 in Momentum. So your T8 is either R design or inscription. Sorry, there you go. The T8 is either R design or inscription. And there are differences on the outside as well to identify that. Mainly the R design gets black mirrors and black trim around the windows. The inscription gets a chrome trim around the windows, and I think on the S90 it gets chrome trim on the lower part of the doors. And the grille is different too. And of course I can't show you that because I'm in the car right now. But here we are entering towards Waco, get closer and closer. And the fuel economy is doing quite well. It's actually impressive that we're getting sort of like diesel style performance out of a high performance, calling it that because it's got more power than combined than the V8 Hemi. I owned a 300S and a Durango. This has more power than either of them. But it's a 4-banger, supercharged, turbocharged, with electric power, puts out more power, and gets 40.9 so far, and 41.2, and that's over 105.5 miles. So, what other car do you know that can do this, besides a diesel? And this would be on par with the diesel, because I had an A6 TDI, which was a V6 diesel, and it had 428 pound-feet of torque. Those are gone. But now we have, in this car, 495 pound-feet of torque. Maybe even 500 at this point, I don't even know. So, that's incredible. Speed limit 65. And does it reflect on the camera? Yep, there you go, 65. So I'm going to lower it down. 1, to, and I think we're going to go get some food, aka lunch. I've been noticing the battery kind of level go up and down a little bit, and it hasn't added anything to the range on the electric, but the range isn't really what's key right now. It's the stability of the road trip. So one thing I'm avoiding in this car is range anxiety that comes with a lot of electric cars. We do not have range anxiety here because we have a gasoline engine really doing a lot of the work on the highway, except for when we're passing. And when we're not passing, when we're coasting, basically now you'll see it's actually regenerating some energy right there. So this is just an incredible car based on these different parameters. And when you're in normal mode, like we're in now, it says hybrid, right? When we're in this hybrid mode, it's doing everything. It's handling all of the cycling of the engine and the power, and it's not until we put it into Polestar mode or full-time all-wheel drive mode, what do they call it? Constant all-wheel drive. That's where you really get different driving dynamics. And if we do get below 38.1, I'll just leave it in Polestar, and I have a feeling I won't get there. I have a feeling we'll be outperforming the T5. All right, we're coming up on places I can get lunch, so I'm gonna tune out, and I'll catch you when we get back in. We meaning me, myself, and I. Oh, fuego! Damn it. Guess I'll have to do in and out or something. So the fuel economy actually increased to 41.5 when I got off the freeway. I'm still in hybrid mode, and I'm parking the car. You just put it in park, or you just turn it off. There you go, 41.5, 41.9. Park and brake sets, car is off, and I can just get out. Everything shuts off. And, yeah. Those are the optional 19-inch wheels. This also has the body kit, which includes the quad tailpipe look, and then the side skirt, and then the R-Design grille. This horizontal slats. The mirrors could fold, I disabled that. Alright, lunchtime. Okay, well that was a good lunch. Time to get back in. When you open the car, it actually boots everything up. So the funny thing is, I tied my shoe and stuff, and it's like, the route is being calculated. The car isn't even on. If I turn it on, now it's on. Okay. Get my seatbelt on. It's harder to get on in this car than it is at the T5. Ugh, I think this is higher up in the T8, just a little bit. Interesting one-way street system here. For a 400 horsepower car, this sure has some pretty good ground clearance. You gotta remember, like, some sports cars that have that power cannot be driven daily.
Please turn left in
like
500
a city
feet and then immediately keep left.
Style car. Alright. So, this is Waco, and it's under construction. I don't know when it's going to be complete now, given that there's this whole situation, which I don't even want to mention. But here we are, 41.5 average, 41.9 over there. And I need a new phone. I need a phone that's got a better camera than this. What I usually do is buy a $300 phone, because what happens is I drop it, it gets all chewed up, and then I don't need basically a
Now turn left.
I don't need a fancy phone. I just need a phone that I can record with.
Now keep second left.
Getting on the freeway, watching my MPGs decline. Pretty clear, yep. Alright. Baylor's on the right. Stadium is on the right. Fancy Bridge. Whoa. Where are we? Oh yeah, we're between the two bridges. So weird. It looked like for a second we were supposed to be on that bridge, and then I was like, well, how is this possible? Are we on the other bridge? Anyway. 40.9. You can see we're in regen mode. If I drop it into B, it regens a little bit more, slows down, because the cloud in front's slowing down. We're regenning a little bit more. You know, it's all like the little stuff that adds up to make it worthwhile, but I wouldn't necessarily think that a little bit of regen is going to make a big difference. It does not make a big difference. The biggest difference is to put it in charge mode, but we're not going to do that. We're going to try and beat 38.1 MPGs that the T5 did, and then it'll be like, well, see, there you go. The plug-in hybrid does make a difference. It does make a difference on price, I'll tell you that. And that's because I got a rebate from the state of Texas for buying a plug-in. That's right, Texas, the oil country, paid me to get an electric vehicle because this qualifies as an EV because it plugs in. If you get a hybrid without a plug, you're way behind the times. Like that Lexus RX 450 HL I drove, it wasn't even a plug-in, so you don't get any incentive to buying one. Also, I get a government federal tax credit of like $5,400 because this has an 11 point something kilowatt hour battery. Not much, but it still matters because $5,400 applies to your lease. I did not lease this, but if you were to lease it, your $5,400 is applied directly up front on the lease. That's what Volvo does through the finance arm that they own. So that means you have to put $5,400 less as a down payment. And then the state gives you $2,500 on top of that, and that's beyond what you negotiate the price of your car at. There's Collins Street Bakery, by the way, waiting for the movie to come out on that. It's supposed to have Will Ferrell as the star. That should be entertaining. Anyway, I sound like Vince Scully. Here's the baseball game. Speaking of which, you know, my wife last night told me something. Anyway, the drive is going to be uneventful from here to Dallas, and as you can tell, it's full of idiots. I somehow got caught in a cluster of idiots. So I'm not going to speed through this. I'm just going to let it work itself out, and hopefully we'll beat 38.1. We're at 40.9 over here, 41.2 there. We've done 112 miles, and yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. So more road trip videos, here you go. Volvo T8, here you go. And yeah, we're just going to continue with this journey. And I'll let you know as we get through this construction zone what we end up getting here on the fuel economy. Let me just set my cruise now. Boom, 67. Okay. Speaking of which, it did keep the settings from when I got out of the car and got back in. It is still on regular cruise. Oh, no, wait. It is on radar cruise. So it defaults to radar cruise when you get back in the car, even if you disable it. Jeez. Lane keeping put me into that. Okay. There we go, cruise control. So it is disabled. Wow. A lot of rattling going on with that. Gotta say the T5 Momentum had more cushioning than this sportier 19-inch optioned wheel set T8, which is heavier as well. Alright, 65, there's a speed limit, 75, so you'll see there's like a backup speed sign, which is interesting. I don't know if it's going to adjust the speed to that, and it does not. Some cars will automatically, like a Mercedes, will adapt to the cruise control speed to the speed limit sign automatically. Now we're not going faster, we're going slower for some reason. We're set on 5. Let me put that back down to like 3. There we go. Alright, because I want to show you something here. Any second, when I can. Got cars coming in. This is just a very bad predicament we're in right now to show you anything. And now we're slowing down. Okay, so a car passes, I'm ready to pass, right? With cruise on, going slower than traffic. All I have to do is hit the left blinker, and the car starts to accelerate. And I haven't even changed lanes. So when you indicate changing lanes, the car will speed up to the speed limit before you pull out, which is amazing because some and most manufacturers wait until you're clear of the car before we'll actually accelerate. In this case, we signaled, it accelerates, and then you can move your lane while you're doing acceleration. So that kind of like prevents you from slowing down everyone behind you. Yeah. Alright, continuing on my journey. Okay, good news and bad news. The good news is our fuel economy is dropping, and I know that's good because that means I'm going to have to put in Polestar mode pretty soon, and 39.2. The bad news is there is more traffic on the freeways, so actually using Polestar mode will be a little bit more difficult because there's less room to maneuver, meaning that, passing will be a lot more difficult if people are doing this kind of stuff. Well, he's moved over. Okay, let's do this. Boom. Polestar engineered. You'll see the tach changes. I have a full tachometer now. And to pass, I'm trying to get everything here. That was easy. So, yeah. That's Polestar for you. And, I'll have a 0 to 60 up soon. And that's with the battery where it is. The battery is really low. And I'm assuming I'd get more power out of that if the battery was closer to full. So you never know when you come up on a Volvo, especially if you don't know what a T8 is. You never know when you're going to get your ass handed to you. Okay, well that didn't take long. We are getting closer and closer to that Y thing. That's like Interstate 35 north, west, and then east. So west goes to Fort Worthless, east goes to Dallas. And now I'm at 37.5 sitting here in my Polestar mode. So we're going to go back into hybrid.
Move to the right in 1 mile.
Yep, I'm doing 81. As soon as we pass that truck, let me put my foot down. Yep, we passed it.
Please keep right onto I-35E North.
Yep, that was fun. We're on I-35 east, north, and I've taken the gloves off now. We're in hybrid mode, but I'm doing around 90-ish. And 36.9. So I figured, hey, we've proven we can beat the T5 a little bit. Maybe match it. It's met its match. But it hasn't met its match on passing power. Obviously, the T8 rules when it comes to that. So I'm not going for a time trial here or anything. I'm just trying to see what happens when we kick it up a notch. I know I've seen 32 before, but still here in hybrid mode, driving around, driving to a place for a purpose, and passing. You know, it's uneventful. Like 400 horsepower, and there's no insane exhaust. There's no crazy belching, no farting when it changes gears, no drama. And I think you need to remember that when you're looking at these electric performance vehicles, whatever they're going to be called these days, is it's so like effortless. I think you wouldn't even realize what you're actually doing unless you had someone in your passenger seat freaking out. You're not going to remember that what you're doing here is probably beyond the normal. And this thing is good at being beyond normal. That's what I like about it. So I don't really need it to be in constant all-wheel drive today because it's nice and sunny, but maybe one day I'll catch it when it rains and we'll do that video for you. But so far, this has been great. And it has passing power even in hybrid mode. So here we are, 72, put my foot down. There we are. So, I mean, nothing to complain about, really. Except for the traffic. But we knew that. We knew that. That was what I was going to warn you about. Like, we're going to drop our fuel economy, and we're going to have some fun, but we have limited room for fun here. There's not a lot of fun that we can have. And I'm sure the people in front of me think that I'm recording them as if I'm like, this douchebag, blah, 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 not using the turn signal, blah, blah, blah. No. I'm just doing my thing for you on YouTube, you viewers there. So thanks for watching. And, yeah, I knew he wasn't going to use his turn signal. I called it. I should report him. Anyway, I wouldn't do that. 36.9, and over there it says 36.6. So I have a feeling that number is going to drop, or that one's going to, I don't know. We are in some construction area, and there are some patrols out because it is Mother's Day. So I'm just going to take it easy now, put the cruise control back on, and yeah, the Polestar is highly capable. It's just that, do you have the area and the space to use it? And I've been kind of giving you that foreshadowing, like, you know, like, I can't use it in the city. I mean, it would be great, and I'll do a separate video on 0 to 60, I will, I promise. But for now, as far as road trips go, let's see if we can bump that number up now, doing the speed limit being back in hybrid mode. You know what, actually, we might even be able to go, well, no, we can't do eco mode because the battery's low. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I'm just going to enjoy the drive. It's a lovely day. I'm not in a hurry. It's getting beautiful up here as we go further north in Texas, and actually slightly to the east. We're getting different wildflowers and bigger trees. It's looking less deserty, and just, it's epic. It's epically nice. 53 miles from Dallas. By the way, we've done 152 miles. And you might say, hey, yeah, there's a lot of glare there. Literally, there's no glare to the human eye. But the glare is there on camera. I can't explain why that's possible. It's probably some kind of UV trickery. And I even have very nice window tints. So I'm not sure what to say about that. But trust me, in person, no glare on those instruments. There is some glare on that. But the glare you are seeing is not picked up by my eye. It's just there on the camera. Alright, we're going to move to the right. Great. I don't like passing trucks on the right, but that's what they do here, is they get in the middle lane and, you know, I'm doing the speed limit anyway. He's going slower than the speed limit. I don't know what he's doing. Yep. Alright. Catch up with you at least at the 200 mile mark. Or when we see some progress here on the hybrid side. I don't know, like, you can recover it a little bit if you're easier on the fuel, but here on cruise control, with us in the engine side, like the engine's running, because the fuel, the little oil drop is actually solid. It would be just an outline if the engine was off. Let's see if it'll do it for us. Nope. We are heading slightly downhill here. Slightly. Still though, you got to admit, 36.4, 400 horsepower sedan. I mean, that's crazy. I could never do that in my Chrysler 300S. Heavy. And this is faster than that. This is faster than my AMG Mercedes I had 10 years ago. 0 to 60 in this is something like 4.4 seconds. And that's without the Polestar tune. So we'll see. By the way, this is an interesting combination. Getting the standard S60 T8, well, the R-Design version, which you could also do as an inscription, but then doing a Polestar tune means you're saving over the regular Polestar S60, the legit one, with the vertical brakes and the gold seat belts and all that, which I wasn't a fan of. This is 10 grand less, and granted, I don't have that $3,000 Bowers & Wilkins stereo, but it has everything else, and I feel like I got a pretty sweet ride for that. To each their own, right? But I feel like, hey, this thing is I'm not going to say the full-on future, but this is an incredible package. Kind of like me, ladies. So I just crested a hill, and it looks like I wasn't the only one to want to open it up a little bit. It seems we're just going to have to abide today. Today's just the dude abides. 75 mile an hour in a 75. And yeah, they have pickup trucks pulling people over today, which is new. Unmarked as well. But still, interesting stuff. Actually, that might have been an abandoned car now that I think about it, because he was kind of in the grass. I don't know, you'll have to play that back and check it out for me. Let me know in the comments below. Yes, and we are in a place called Italy. There's actually a road trip thing we can do. I want to do with a couple other YouTube guys. And it's called Visiting Europe. And basically we drive to all the European named cities in Texas. We'll call it the European Tour. Should be fun. In the meantime, yeah, it's pretty dry out here too. We need some rain, and we need it badly. So 36.4 is where we're at. I realized in the T5 there actually is an eco mode, and it does coasting and all that. And this is not able to do coasting unless it's an EV only mode. I don't think there is a full coasting mode, because then it would actually have to do regen, right? But there is a way here. We go into pure, which is eco drive, and then what happens is now it's in regen, but also way down here, way down there, you'll see it says eco, so the air conditioning is in eco mode as well. And just like the air conditioning eco mode in the T5 was, even though this one's electric and the other one was, I think, belt driven, there is a sort of lowered version of the air conditioning compressor going, which is supposed to save on fuel. However, in this one, it's really just electricity, right? Because it's an electrically driven compressor. So it doesn't really save fuel from that mindset, it saves electricity, which we're already not using because we're technically out of, or low on, because the fuel gauge is still at 3/4, and the battery is still basically where it's been since it ran low, right? So the car is actively managing everything, but if you notice, I think we used the equivalent amount of fuel in both of these cars, even though in this one it's heavier and has electric. So the real benefit of this car isn't fuel economy, because it's doing the same thing the T5 can do. But the benefit is that it's performance. So you can pass faster, you can go faster, you can accelerate if that's important to you, and you have all-wheel drive doing it. And I'm sure that the T6, which I have not done a road trip in, don't think I ever can because I don't have one, the T6 would probably be a little worse on fuel economy than the T5. And then we're looking here at the T8 being, well, if we charge it overnight every night, we can go 22 miles, and if we live in the city, we never need to do it, right? Well, that's great, but it costs me like 6 cents, or even if it costs you 9 cents a kilowatt hour in Texas, that's 11 kilowatt hours. So that's 99 cents a day just to top off the electricity. Where fuel right now is like here in Texas, like $1.25, maybe $1.40. So $1.40, I can go 36 miles, or for 99 cents, I can go 22 miles. You see what I'm saying? There is a pretty much a wash right now between the cost of electricity, charging a car here in Texas. I mean, I know in California it's like 28 cents a kilowatt hour, which would be ridiculous. That's like $3 to charge your car versus doing a, oh, that's fun. Maybe not, that's just an A7 to look like an RS7. And there you go, T6. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the T8 is not really the economical choice. The T5 is. And the T8 was never meant to be this, super efficient car on a road trip, maybe only in the city up to a certain point, as I just showed you in Austin, like getting around at 150 miles per gallon was great. But here on the open road, it's really great for passing and getting around things and disappearing, really. It's a disappearing act that this thing can do very well. And that's what this is for, and that's why I bought it. I wanted something faster than the 300S Hemi, or my Durango RT, or my AMG. And this is basically faster, has all-wheel drive, and I'm not even going to get into the safety aspects, but it has all the tech. It has all the tech you could possibly want in here. So it doesn't feel like I've gone backwards or anything, nor should I at this price. But neither did the T5, which is amazing. Because if this is not important to you, all this power, then what's wrong with the smaller versions? Okay, pass them. And that's hybrid mode. And now we've got the radar cruise on, and it's slowing us down little by little. And now we're speeding up a little bit. It's keeping that distance. Alright, let's move over one. Okay, so there you go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go here. We're going to put it into Polestar mode. So fuel economy is going to be a little worse right now, but I'm just going to show you this for the sake of showing you what goes on here in my mind. So 36.4 and 36.6 on the instant. We're at just a tick under 3/4 of a tank. And you can see we got the tachometer now, and it says Polestar. And I like to have a car in front of me to pass so you can actually visually see, sort of like in the Aviator when they had to put clouds or fly on a cloudy day so you can see the planes actually are going fast. I like to be able to have a slow car to pass so you can see how quickly this thing can pick up speed. It's pretty epic. So what will happen is we'll come up here on this car, we'll let it acquire that car's speed for a minute, and then we'll do a pass. Still slowing down. You can see my speed, 62, 60, 59, 58. Okay, this is great. Now I'm going to pass. Ready? Go. Foot down, heart down. And it sounds great, and it's not overly dramatic. It's great, because you can just sort of stealthily get around places, and people wouldn't assume that this is the Volvo doing it. They'd see it doing it, but they wouldn't believe it's doing it. And that's the best part, handing people's asses back to them, especially those Audi guys these days. Now, my assumption is that if it had a full charge, and you see, look at that, ironically, as we drive it harder, there's more range on the battery. So go figure that, right? So what it's doing is it's probably charging the engine a little bit, and it's keeping that extra juice in there. So if I just put my foot down a little bit, well, we can't. He's gonna pass. All right. Well, this is totally not efficient, so we're gonna lose our fuel economy. All right. So we've acquired his speed. All right, foot down a little bit. You see that? It just goes with electricity, and then it finds the gear, and then it accelerates via the gas motor. And if I put it in B, now we're going to do not engine braking, but more braking via the electric motor. So some regen going on here. turn off the radar cruise for now. And Polestar mode, B mode. Kind of let you enjoy this a little bit. Got a Mercedes hog in the left lane. We'll go right, slow down a little bit. And then we'll pass again. He's slowing down. Why would you hit the brakes when you're the only guy in the road, on the lane? Now we're having to brake a little bit downhill. Backwards, we got a guy coming up on us. Alright, Mercedes, move. And they said there's a 112 mile an hour speed limit on Volvos, but I don't see it. Alright. Interesting. Only in Texas. Alright, well there you go. That's a little Polestar, little taste of my Polestar there. That's terrible. And we're just going to cruise now straight into downtown Dallas. So we'll get back over to cruising speed. And I'll take it out of Polestar. See, we're at 35.2, which isn't bad. Not bad. We did a couple hard pulls there and some real, heavy duty driving for a second. Set the cruise to like 75. Okay. And then 35.2. So what we'll do is we'll go back into hybrid mode. Notice the battery charge. And the instant fuel, or the current real-time fuel average is 35.5. So as we get over to Dallas, like probably another 15 miles, we'll see a difference here. Will it use more electricity in regular hybrid mode to bring up the fuel economy? Again, like, I don't really pay too much attention to this as an owner of this car. I let the car do its thing. Actually, I don't even have a charger at home, so I don't even charge the car at home. But it's always cycling itself through this battery a little bit. And if I wanted to, I could put it in charge mode. I'll do a video on that separately, because it does use fuel, but I have a whole argument about that. Like, because of the way EPA rates plug-in hybrids, since 2010 they haven't changed the formula or the mathematical calculation on what MPGe is, or eMPG, compared to plugging it into the socket. All sorts of different stuff, so we'll get there. But right now this is just the T5 compared to the T8, and what you can expect. I mean, if you want to fork over the extra dough for a T8 for the power, yes. For the fuel efficiency, no. You could still get the R design, these seats and everything, in either version of the S60, and I think that's the way to go. I mean, just get an S60. You can't go wrong at this point, especially compared to an Audi A4. We'll see what the new A4 looks like when it hits the road, like 2021. But for now, S60 all day long. Well, it's never perfect, is it? And this is the benefit of having radar cruise on a car that maybe you might think like, I'm not going to use it. Well, here I am using it. And this is the perfect case for cruise control. That is radar cruise. Because now I am tired, let's just say, and I'm like, this stop and go traffic is going to eat me alive. But I'm not even touching the steering wheel. And it's doing everything on its own. And it'll come to a complete stop. And it'll sit there. And it will hold the stop, unlike the FCA products, like the Durango and the Chrysler 300. This will come to a stop and stay stopped. And then when we want to resume, then I just hit the resume button here, or I put my foot on the gas pedal. But here we are, completely stopped on Interstate 35. You can see the traffic is in there, although it did not reroute me for traffic. Oh, there they go. I'm just going to hit this button there. I hear the sirens. I don't know where they are. Well, this is definitely not good. So, lots of traffic up here, and yeah, I don't know if I should get off or stay on. If we go here for full screen, I don't know where the accident is. Car is still driving itself, by the way. This is fantastic. I think the accident is relatively close, so there won't be much to worry about. Oh, there it is. I just saw the icon for it. Right there. Accident. Northbound, okay. So if I wanted to avoid it, I would read out.
Honda I-35E, northbound, at Daniel Dale Drive, exit 417, lane closed. Heavy accident.
Heavy accident. Lane closed. Okay, so we'll get off. Yeah, it looks like they're closing everything. Or at least a lane. A lane. Information. See if this guy is nice enough to let me in. Yep, thank you very much. Drive the Texas way, drive friendly. Everyone's getting off. You know, it's just like, let's get off, everybody. Come on. Obviously something tragic happened, and it's pretty sad. When they're shutting down lanes, you don't want to be a part of that. And who knows how long that wait will be, but when the guy's out there putting his vest on, you know it's bad. Gotta let the truck in. Okay, well that's it. Shut down, and I'm not a part of it. And I'm usually not the kind to take a video of the accident, so I will just spare you that, because I don't feel like it's my problem and people need to know about it. But you're guaranteed to see like something you don't want to see, but luckily it's right there and I don't have to see it. It's pretty tragic probably, and never a good sign, is it? So we'll just get right back on the freeway here and continue on our way. But there you go, like whether you were in the accident or you saw the accident, or whether you're affected by the traffic from the accident, you never know like what's going to happen on your road trip. So stay safe. And I sound like a hypocrite, I'm sure, because I did 120 something. But you know, tailgating and quick lane changing and just, you know, driving like you're the only one on the road doesn't help, and you just need to be cognizant of that. Like, there are other people here. Alright, so we'll put it in Polestar, and we'll go for it. And just like that, the car can pick up and go. And I'm not sure about the long-term effect of that engine kind of cycling on and off in the different hybrid style modes or whatever, but I think you get the idea. That's why when I drive this thing, I don't pay attention to the oil or the electric bolt, the whatever you want to call it, the difference between electricity and gas as we go through. So let's go back into hybrid. Right? I don't really pay attention to which mode I'm in. I'm not driving or modulating my accelerator to stay in a certain mode. Just drive it. because if you try and stay light on it, you're just going to use more electricity. If you drive it heavier, you're going to use the engine, and you're going to use less electricity, and it's going to help you accelerate and boost you. So it's almost like this is definitely a performance car, and you need to drive it like one. Do not drive it like a fuel-efficient car, like a little fuel sipper hybrid. Don't be light-footed on this thing. Be heavy-footed. And some of you may go, gee, you've got a lot of this mode thing, back and forth between these modes. And the reality is, yes, I have, but I'm showing you everything. And normally I wouldn't spend a lot of time doing that, but I just wanted you to see all the capabilities. And now we're even closer to Dallas, and our average fuel economy is 35.2, even with that hard pull, getting back on the freeway. And we're in regen. Let's take it out of that B mode. There we go. And I gotta say, the ride isn't as smooth as a T5 because we got the 19-inch wheels, and we're in the R-Design package, so there's an extra weight. So the combination means we're not as light across the road as we would be. And we don't have as much suspension travel here because we've got different dynamics going on. The T5 is definitely great if you are in a place with really rough roads like here in Dallas. But the T8 isn't bad. I mean, this is still better than some $100,000 press cars I've driven lately, like the BMW X5 M50i. That was terrible on the road compared to most other cars. So we have a compliant suspension here in the Volvo. It's very easy to go over things and not have butt-clenching moments and just drive it like a normal car, like a Chrysler 300 would take it. And the 300 had 20-inch wheels. I would say this rides similar to the 300. The 300 is obviously bigger, but the results here are the same. Just a great vehicle to be in, period. We'll just make our way there, closer to Dallas. The zoo will be on our right. There's like a huge giraffe sculpture. It's pretty cool. And I've heard that you can have brunch at the Dallas Zoo, and they have flamingos that come out and give you a show while you're at the zoo to have brunch at this fancy schmancy restaurant they've got. I haven't tried it, though. I don't know when this road construction will ever end. It's been like this for years. I remember my road trip video in my Q5 when I drove to, or maybe I didn't do it. I drove a Q5 to the Texas, State Fair of Texas, way back 4.5 years ago. And the road used to be over there. Now it's down here. And it's just like narrow and windy and bumpy and just psychotically striped. And it's hard to stay in your lane with the road so bumpy. Look at these people having a hard time. If you don't expect it, you're not prepared. If you've never been through it a couple times, you just don't know what to do. It's crazy. There you can see Dallas off there in the distance, the skyline. You can see all the construction icons on my map. I cannot, that's a downside, is I cannot zoom in or zoom out of that map. It's just a fixed, well, the fix is actually auto. So as I slow down, it zooms in. As I go faster, it zooms out. But unlike the Audis where I can control it, I can't control it here in the Volvo. I think that's like the one downside here in the Volvo compared to the Audi. I cannot control the map. Wow, been a long day. So my question is, has the navigation destination really made an impact? Is that even good English? Proper? Has the navigation system done anything that makes the hybrid system work better for efficiency or performance? Like, has it been able to charge the car or control any of the outputs or inputs to make it a better car to be in? I don't know. I'm not sure. This road is insanely rough, and these lanes are like
Move to the left in 1 mile.
beautiful skyline there.
Now keep left.
The navigation system, by the way, shows the split screen even when I don't have the nav on the main screen. It shows the lane recommendations and everything. Let's go to the right.
Move to the right in 1 mile and then immediately keep left.
It's just a great day here.
Please keep right onto TX 366 East and then immediately keep left.
It's a nice town, or a nice city, and at night, you know, the way this place lights up at night, it's fantastic. It's got a great ambiance or flair, or whatever you want to say, but just during the day,
Now keep right.
it looks pretty spread out. At night, it looks a little bit more concentrated. Okay, we're going to move off here.
Please keep left onto
Keep
TX
left.
366 East. Now keep left.
Feel the electric boost kicking in there, and then the turbo on. Going coming in, we're good to go. I do have to say the brakes in this car are somewhat lacking compared to the T5. I just haven't been really hard on these brakes yet. And they are regen brakes. And then they kick in. There's just something about them that
Move to the left in 1 mile and then immediately keep left.
I honestly don't have full confidence in these brakes yet. I mean, I haven't really had to do a panic stop, thank God. But I just feel like regular stopping is somewhat difficult sometimes. I feel like I gotta plan ahead or something. Maybe that's why the Polestar has Brembo and Accabono or whatever it is. No, it's Brembo in the Polestar, and the Polestar 1 is Accabono, I think. There's the Pro Museum, Phoenix, Encore buildings, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the brakes do work. It's just the way they modulate, like...
Please keep left and follow TX 366 East and then immediately keep left.
The amount of pressure I put on the brake is not the same stopping power every single time. And I feel like I have to brake hard all the time in order for this thing to really
Now keep left.
seat properly, which I haven't done. I've only got 2,000 miles on here, and I've hardly driven it. I mean, two road trips in it so far. It's not really seen many braking events. All right, 75 towards McKinney. I'm going to get off at exit 4 because I got to go take care of something. And this is where I'm going to leave y'all. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We're at 35.2 mpgs, by the way. And I'm not sure if this trip was faster or slower than... well, I did stop for lunch this time. But I'm going to tell you, like, it's entertaining in this one. Whereas in the other trip, the other Volvo, the S60 T5, it was more relaxing. So this thing is more engaging. The other one was more relaxing. And thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell, see what happens there. And I'll catch you later. Actually, there's one thing I want to show you. We're going to get off here at Lover's Lane. We'll see if the fuel economy improves. I highly doubt it because we've done like 205.3 miles it's kind of, you have to do a lot of driving now to bring the averages up. But let's see what happens when I go into like standard driving, like the difference between being from city to city and then now I'm in my city, like how much electric driving can I do, right? And what is that like? Because I'm sure some of you are interested in that. I can't really show you full electric range because I don't have a charger at home, and I don't really have 25 miles to go do anything in Dallas, because everything in Dallas is like 3 or 4 miles from me. So it doesn't make any sense. And it's 81 degrees out today, so the fuel economy is likely to be better and everything, because nothing's struggling. The AC isn't struggling. We don't have any heat going. We're not using the heated seats. Okay, I think we get off 2 more exits. Sorry for the bumpy camera. I have a gimbal in the trunk, but having to hold the gimbal in this camera for 3 hours, that's a lot of weight. And I'd rather just set the camera down once in a while when I need to without having to fuddle around with the gimbal. That's scary. Who wants to break down under a bridge like that? You can't even be seen. Okay, we gotta get off here. So we'll just get in front of this Nissan Versa. Just get off here. And make a left. Left. So weird to come to a complete stop and then the engine's off. It's to me, that's weird. Oh, the nav's not going to like any of this, so let's just cancel the nav. We'll go down here and put it into pure mode. Okay. Now it's all electric, lights green. And the engine turned back on. So even if you're in EV mode, you're not going to have range anxiety here, because pure mode, electric only, will run as electric as long as it can, and then it uses the engine to make up for that. Now the tint doesn't look cloudy. That's weird. But the beauty of the hybrid system is when you're in the city, it's calming and relaxing because you're in electric mode and there's no engine running. And it's really quiet. And this is how I'm going to end the video. More on the way. Thanks for watching.